dancer of preeminence, an activist, a thinker, the founder-president of Natyavriksha, and somebody who has taken dance to young people and ignited their thoughts in many ways. Geeta.
I plan to be very brief because a lot has already been said. We were fortunate to belong to a generation where a program we would have a full row of critics sitting from, as was already said, Subru Mama from The Statesman, and Srinivasan sir from Times of India, Rajan sir from Indian Express, Prasad sir from Indian Express. So it was a fortunate time. Shanta ji, of course, from Hindustan Times. And they would all maybe come on time, but Subru Mama would make a late entry, and there would be this buzz in the auditorium, Subru Andachi, Subru Andachi. So this would go like a buzz, you know. And then he would promptly have his hand at the back and walk like that and come and sit in one place. And his head would start, you know, hands would go like this. So that is something that has stayed with me as a child, because I was young and everybody used to read him, and he used to say that, hold the column for me, and after the show he would go and stand in the bus stop. We would either see him standing there to take a bus to go to Statesman, and the others would read the review, and then you knew he set the tone for the other reviews. So it was almost like that, you know. So he would set the tone in that sense. And as I grew, I realized that he had strong likes and dislikes. He disliked my first teacher, so he would never come to my programs initially, because Swarna Sasti and Amma and he had a tiff, because she came from a tradition where she didn't like being reviewed, because she was herself from the Dasi Parampara, and you know, they were not very comfortable with being reviewed, and this kind of a changed scenario. So he would say, vare, but he would never come for the program. So, and he was, you know, he believed in showbiz, you know, he believed that dance should be engaging, it should be something, and which was not my guru's thought at that time, because she's from a traditional parampara, and dance was a very 3-hour affair. He would say, Yaru kandu papa, 3 mani neram panna yaru papa. He would say, you know, because there would be a koratti and there would be an andal and there would be 4 padams, and you know, it would go on and on. So he would think that it should be interesting, crisp, and things should be you know, engaging. That is what he would always say. And he would say small things which I have still carried on with me while you know, working on a piece, is that he would say, Aruthi vandu oru mile neelam venda. Aruthi சின்னதா வை, என்ன சொல்லணுமோ அதை ஜதியில சொல்லு. அறுதி எதுக்கு நீ ஹனுமான் மால் மாதிரி அறுதி வைக்கிற? So these things still I hold, because this is true. You know, what you have to say, you say in the jati. He would say that the aradi is a punctuation mark. It just is a full stop after a jati. So you don't have to really say your scholarship in the aradi. So these are small things which still we take. And he had a very healthy dialogue with the dance teachers. You know, he could pick up the phone and say, ஏன் அப்படி பண்ண நீ? அந்த குழந்தை பாவம் தத்தளிச்சுட்டு இருந்தது. போருமே இத்தனை பெரிய ஜதி எதுக்கு ஆட வச்ச? குட்டியா ஆட வச்சிருக்கலாமே. So there was this dialogue with the teachers he would do, and which would benefit the student. You know, maybe the student, we didn't have the guts to talk to our teacher. So maybe it was nice to root it through him and, you know, kind of have that dialogue. And I think the most important was, I guess we had the only critic who used to write music and dance. Because that was, I think, a huge hyphen. Because today we see the dance audience being very different from the music audience. But then I think Delhi had a very common audience. We had dance, the same audience which came to music would also be there in dance. And that Mama was the link. You know, he would write both music and dance. And that would be very interesting for us to read. And he would always ask me, Paatle enna kattukra? That was the first question for me, because he knew I was learning music. Enna kattukra paatla? And then he would ask me to hum, and then say, yaar composition, enna ragam, indha ragathla vera enna kattundirka? So it was like a test every time going to Subramama. I was nervous when I used to see him, because I knew there would be a barrage of questions that I would have to answer, and I would have to keep pace with what. Thank you so much for having us here today. and I would not like to take more of his time, but it's a wonderful idea to remember him. I think we must have some kind of a endowment for the best writing on dance, because I think dance writing has really gone, so maybe this is something that we can all think of an endowment for dance writing, because it's really languishing and we don't have too many writers who are writing on dance, and this must be something we can think of collectively with dance community. And he was a first generation person who had moved to Delhi, and so was my father. And the common meeting place for many of these people was the UNI canteen. So Suri sir also has contributed to this great music and dance fraternity.